Well, we have a special guest on the show here tonight. Their flagship game is called Rise of the Drow, and earlier this week they have launched a Kickstarter as a follow up to that, Rise of the Drow After the Fall. And with us today is Jonathan Nelson from AAW Games. Jonathan, how you doing tonight?
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. I've been awake for nearly we're coming up on like 36 hours. So like
Yeah,
pretty tired, but I'm getting through it.
good. Yeah,
38 is kind of crazy.
I'm sure. Yeah, I can only imagine, trying to do this as your livelihood and everything. Like, you're going to have some sleepless nights, making sure everything goes off without a hitch and all that. And we'll talk a little bit about how Kickstarters work for tabletop role playing games and your experience and everything, because I think you have a lot of great insight to that, and you can kind of let us
Sure.
know like what that experience is like. But like I want to talk a little bit first about um, I call it your flagship, like game or supplement, all that. I'm assuming it's your flagship.
It is.
Yeah, and it's called Rise of the Drow, and I remember seeing this at Gen Con, I think 2 years ago, and I gotta say and you guys, sent me the book, and I absolutely love, this is like a heavy, thick book. You could definitely
Mhm.
use as a character in D&D, like, as a bludgeoning weapon here, improvised weapon, right?
Yep.
But the artwork is gorgeous, that's what captured my attention. I'll be honest and say that artwork is what draws me in a lot of times with role-playing games. Like, that's how I got into Dragonbane, because the duck looks like Darkwing Duck for me, and I remember seeing this.
Yeah, Darkwing Duck. I remember that back in the day.
Right? Yeah. And
Cartoons after school, man.
exactly, yeah, and so, like, I desperately want to play a Darkwing Duck in a role-playing game sometime. But I remember at Gen Con, I saw this book, I saw the artwork, it drew me in, and I was just so fascinated by Rise of the Drow, and you guys had, like, such a fantastic booth. I know all your employees that were there were wonderful to speak with. You guys were busy the whole time at Gen Con. Like, I think I went by there 4 or 5 times because I wanted to check things out, and you guys had people over there. So,
Yeah. Yep.
for those who aren't aware of what this is, like, tell us a little bit about what is Rise of the Drown. Kinda tell us a little history about it, and what's all it entails and all that.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I'm a huge fan of tabletop role playing games. I've been playing and DMing since I was 8 years old. So, it's
Nice.
really like one of the key things. Basically, music and then D&D are like the things that make me happy in life. So, when you're holding up that book, I was so proud because you're showing that off, and it has these nice crisp corners, and
Mhm.
we even have custom boxes made for this book so that when it ships, the if it gets dented, because frequently for whatever reason USPS or whatever will like throw the books at your doorstep and they'll zook,
Yeah.
and then you've got the corner dented. And as a collector of tabletop role playing games, I am not a fan when I get a book I've been waiting for months or years, and then it comes in the mail and it's got a big dent in it. So like
Yeah.
that's one of the key things that we did with our books was to make sure to protect them. But yeah,
Awesome.
going back, Rise of the Drow originally started out as a project with a whole bunch of us back in the day. And even what's really crazy is after all these years, two of the people that worked on that project are no longer with us. And one of them, his name was Joshua. He got to hold the books in his hand before he passed away, and it was
Oh,
like
man.
one of those achievements in life where he got to it, and he's like, that's something he always wanted to do was be a part of this, and he got to do all the layout for the books, and he was so happy to be able to have that opportunity. And it's like those are the moments that make it all worth it, like
Yeah.
those and the moments I spent at Gen Con when people come up and say, hey, I played Rise of the Drow and I love it, and here's all the things that my group did and all that. It's like they may think that they're talking my ear off, but I actually enjoy that. I like hearing about how everyone has a different experience. And so Rise of the Drow was kind of like growing up, we started out with like AD&D first edition and basic D&D, like the red box with Larry Elmore's art on it. And
Mhm.
we progressed through and we played through all the different editions and what have you. But there was something about the Drow that always drew us back. And there was something about the Underdark and going into these caves. And I mean, I'm even as a kid, I remember like anywhere I saw that could potentially be a cave, I'm like, I want to go in there, I want to explore that. It's like even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm like, oh, imagine all these catacombs or sewers were all of a sudden so much cooler than they could ever be in actual real life. But like,
Mhm.
it's like just the idea of going and exploring this unknown place where anything could happen. You could find anything down there, right? It's like maybe nobody's ever been down here, right? And these certain tunnels that you're exploring. And just the idea of these cultures that live in this environment where it's completely lightless, right? And
Mhm.
you have to figure out, how do we survive in this kind of environment? And they start to adapt to that type of environment. And so one of the things that we thought about was like, let's do kind of a different spin on this. It's like, we thought it makes more sense that these drow that have lived underground for a long time, that their skin pigmentation starts to change as time goes on, because you're not getting the sunlight. And if you're not getting the sunlight, that means your skin's going to slowly become more and more pale, and eventually, honestly, translucent is what would eventually happen. That's what
Mm.
happens to a lot of creatures that live in subterranean environments.
Yeah.
And so we actually kind of came at a different take and kind of changed the pigmentation of the drow, like you can see behind me,
Right.
of their color of their skin a little bit, to kind of actually lighten it up, and not have it be like the curse from the spider goddess. Which, if at your table you want to do that, you can do that, but to kind of change it up, and take kind of like taking biology and make it, mixing it with mythology, right?
Mhm.
And so we delved into kind of our own version of the Underdark, and figured out a way to kind of tie it together, so that whether you're running Forgotten Realms and you want to kind of plug and play Rise of the Drow into Forgotten Realms, you can easily do that and drop it into like Icewind Dale. Or if you want to run it based off of the setting that we have, the Aventure campaign setting, you can do that as well. And a lot of people have really enjoyed that, because a lot of us know and love the Forgotten Realms. I mean, I like when we logged in today, like we were talking Forgotten Realms earlier a little
Right.
bit. It's,
Yeah.
it's like Forgotten Realms is something that's near dear to my heart as well. And it's like I grew up with playing that through most of high school. And the Dritz books, all of this is like all the stuff that kind of planted all of this lore into our minds and our imaginations, grew from that. So I would understand that people would want to play it in the Forgotten Realms, but at the same time, so many people know the Forgotten Realms, and you can find so much information just googling online or looking around, grabbing even an old book from 3.5 or second edition. You can find a lot of lore, and that's great, but the players also have access to a lot of that. So this also gives a way for you to take some of our setting, put it into your world, whether it's the Forgotten Realms or your own setting. And the players don't know everything right off the get go. They don't know all the NPCs. They don't know who's running the village or much about the village itself that they start in. So
Mhm.
Rise of the Drow really became kind of, at first, a cult classic, I would call it. And over time, it's grown into hands down our bestseller. I mean, it sells out 10 to 1 over any new release, even that we come out with, usually, because I think what it is people just want the Drow, and for whatever reason, WotC has been really scared about delving into talking about the Drow or
Mhm.
dealing with the Drow, and I don't know why. I mean, it's just another culture, right? It's another species. There's something interesting about that. There's something that intrigues us about the Drow and their society, living in a matriarchal society in the Underdark, right? So,
Mhm.
um, Rise of the Drow takes you from levels 1 through 15 in the adventure, or if you explore everything in the book, it takes you to level 20, which is insane, right? It's like 552 pages long. It's in PDF, it's in hardcover, it's come out for every single VTT. Um, we've sold it, it's our bestseller, still selling worldwide. And we've always wanted to tell this story of like, what if we flip the script? Because as we tell the story, it's like, even those of us writing it were like, "Well, I wanna play a drow," and a lot of the players kept saying that, they're like, "Well, I'm gonna play Rise of the Drow. Can I roll up a drow to play this?" And it's like, "Well, no, you're surface dwellers coming down into the Underdark, but I wanna play a drow." So, we have been working over the past, like, 3 and a half, maybe even 4 years now. We've been working on this kind of flip the script of Rise of the Drow after the Fall. And so what happens is, in Rise of the Drow, I'm not gonna spoil it for those of you that haven't played it. Basically, if you succeed in your quest, you overthrow the Drow house that's causing all these problems. It finally collapses. Everything, collapses within the Drow city. And after that, it's like, what's the aftermath of that, right? If a Drow city falls, if adventurers came from the surface and they were able to overthrow these high priestesses of the spider goddess, that are like, the spider goddess has imbued them with her ultimate power. They are her champions, and these random people from up in the upper world have come down and overthrown her. Essentially, what happens next? What happens next to that society? And so that's exploring this, where we're now flipping the script, and now it's kind of like you're waking up, almost like if you played some of the Elder Scrolls games, right? It's like
Mhm.
you wake up a prisoner. It's kind of the same thing. It's like you wake up as a Drow prisoner, and the city is now run by the coalition of the quote unquote good guys. What do you do next? How do you
Right.
survive here in this new environment where they're trying to indoctrinate you, and they're trying to get you to accept their culture and get you to become one of them as opposed to what you are naturally born as, which is a drow.
Right.
And so it explores that and allows you to choose drow or drider as your race, but then as the extra, you get to choose your house. So that kind of defines who you are as far as your objectives and maybe some of the traits that you have. Different houses aren't necessarily completely aligned with like this is just fighters or this is just bards. You could be a bard, be in the fighter house, or vice versa. But it allows you to have some extra traits and some extra things that give you these boons that the other houses may not have.
Mhm.
And it's a very unique situation because now you've got drow who are attempting to work together, but yet in the past they were all backstabby. They're all trying to overthrow each other's houses. But now they're forced to work together because if they do not, the quest or basically their survival, they will fail, they will fall.
Right.
And so how can the drow rise again and figure out how to cooperate despite all of these differences and all these extra complications? So sorry, I was talking about Rise of the Drow and I kind of went off into the after the fall there.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah. No, so no, I love that. So the book here for Rise of the Drow sounds like it's a setting book, but also a adventure book that has that takes you from 1 to 15. It sounds absolutely fascinating. I think, just like you said, Drow society is something that has intrigued a lot of people and they want to explore that and everything. And so I think it's really cool to come up with something that people can, drop into any sort of setting and anything like that. I know that I was able to pick up a ticket to play Rise of the Drow at Gen Con, so I'm looking forward to that because I've been wanting to play this and just haven't had the opportunity for it. And so when I saw that, that was being offered at Gen Con, I definitely wanted to take up that opportunity to be able to do that because I think there's just something really cool, there's something really neat to be able to explore like a specific facet of something to kind of go, really deep. Because I think, with different settings like Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk and things like that, you get that huge breadth of the world building that you can explore and all that. But it's also nice to be able to, go like, to the Underdark and explore the world of the Drow, or even something like, Time Manther and explore, more of the world of Dragonborns and things like that. And so being able to kind of do like a deep dive, it sounds like this kind of gives that great opportunity for people who want to do that. And again, the artwork is fantastic in it. It gives you a lot for the book that you get to be able to, drop those things in and be able to utilize whatever you want, whether it's just like the settings or just, some of the, stat blocks and things like that. I didn't realize that Drider was a playable species in this book, though. That actually sounds really interesting.
Yes, yes. We actually have a book called Drider of the Underworld, where if you want to expand upon Rise of the Drow, we have underworld races and classes, occult secrets of the underworld, then survivalist guide to spelunking.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, we have a whole series of basically Underdark books. We even worked with the survivalist guide to spelunking. We worked with Douglas Niles on that one. He was the creator, original author of the Dungeoneer Survival Guide for AD&D First Edition, and he also wrote a lot of the Forgotten Realms and some of the Dragonlance novels back in the day. So
Right.
he's got a lot of chops, and so he helped tell kind of a narrative aspect of this character that we made called Dugmore Dumple, this dwarf, who's kind of
Right.
like telling you about the Underdark and how he's been down here for ages and he knows everything about everything. And so
Yeah.
and he's not always correct, but he's always funny. So the way he's switching. So we've got Douglas Niles kind of telling the story as well as us giving you mechanics and different things in the Underdark. But yeah, we've got everything. I mean, as far as Drider go, that was one of the things back in the day when I started playing D&D and everything. Like I encountered Driders or ran them in my games, or even played like Pool of Radiance. I think it was in Pool of Radiance where all of a sudden the Drider comes and attacks you. You're like, whoa, what's this thing? This is rad. Like I want to play one of those. I want to be that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Half Drow, half Spider. Like, what is cooler than that? So it's like you can choose to be a Drider, and the thing is you can choose to be kind of like, do I want to be a Drider that's more of like a Drow that's been transformed,
Mhm.
or do I want to be a Drider that's more of like the failed, like the Spider Goss is like, oh, you've totally, you've completely ruined yourself. You're not in my favor at all, and now you're cursed, and you're this failed, mutated, crazy, monstrous like Drider. So it
Right.
allows you to kind of play a monstrous type creature if you want as well. And we even have mutations because when this tower collapses in Holoth, which is the Drow city, at the end of Rise of the Drow, when the tower collapses, The demi-plane of Venom, there's a portal in there, and so it's kind of bleeds out into the city, and so all these portals open up, and Venom essentially spills into the city, and it mutates things. So you've got like all
Oh,
these strange mutations, and so you even have mutated Driders that might have like extra eyes or extra limbs and are like twitching and kind of like glowing green, like very strange things, like infused with like resistance to acid and poison and those sorts of things. So all kinds of interesting stuff for you to play in this for sure.
yeah, no kidding. I love hearing that. And like I said, I'm looking forward to playing it at Gen Con finally
Yes.
and be able to, kick the tires on that. As I mentioned earlier this week, you all launch your Kickstarter with the follow-up Rise of the Drow after the fall. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that entails and what that is, and what all encompasses in the Kickstarter that you launched?
Yeah, yeah. So kind of like I said, when you wake up and after the fall, it's like you're kind of waking up and starting off the game as and this is the interesting thing is with this game, I actually recommend people run a session 0 so that everyone can kind of not only choose their house and everything, but do some of it a little bit secretively, to be able to walk off with the DM and talk to them and say, hey, I'm this house and this other person's my opposing house, and we have to work together, but I have these objectives that maybe are different than theirs or maybe butt heads and stuff like that. So it's like
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff where you can have a lot of things going on where you have to figure out how to work together despite your differences and despite different motives.
Right.
So that's kind of a big part of it, right? And there's also all of the interesting things that come with Drow, like all the subterfuge and all of the there's a lot of infiltration in this game as well. So like one of the developers is really a big fan of like Metal Gear Solid and loves the idea of like stealthing into and having like an infiltration situation where you're not just going in and killing everything.
Right.
Like that's not the objective because if you do that, shrieker mushroom alarms start going off. All of a sudden, all these troops come running in, and you're basically the gig's up. So you
Right.
got to figure out, well, how do we go through here? How do we work together and use our efforts to get past these coalition guards to get to our objective? And so that's kind of the thing is you're starting out as Drought, and your city's been overthrown by the coalition of good guys, right? All these other races that lived in the underworld, whether they're dwarves or essentially like dragonborn and all of these other subterranean species, the Sverfneblin, they're now all working together, and they've culminated all of their best traits to try and kind of change the Drow into what they would like them to be. And they've even given them a new god. They've said, no, worship this god. This god is the god you should be worshiping. You shouldn't be worshiping the spider goddess. Like that's the way of the past. That doesn't work here in the underworld. We don't want to have you running around causing chaos like you once did. So yeah, here's what you need to do. And so they give them their food, they give them their schedules, their work details, all of these things, but they're still essentially slaves. And so the Drow go off and do what's expected of them. And so you're a group of these Drow, and one of your first missions is to go off to the ruins of Tolgoroth Tower, which was the tower that fell at the end of kind of the Drow reign when the good guys from the surface destroyed everything. It fell, the demi-plane of venom had leaked everywhere, and so you're going into this infected kind of ruins of this tower and going in there to find certain artifacts and whatnot to bring back. And you're bringing them back to the Redemption Forge, where the Verger, which are one of our dwarf species, and these other races there, they take them and they melt these Drow artifacts down, especially if they have any kind of anything to do with the spider goddess. They get melted down in the forge, and they will reuse that to make some good things out of it instead of the bad things that were there.
Right.
And that's kind of like one of the first things is kind of figuring out like, okay, well, what did we find in the ruins, and what did we discover as we explored these ancient Drow ruins? Did we, or not ancient, sorry, it's like 5 years after this is all fallen, but you're discovering things there. And so you might have some certain hints and some certain ideas of like, well, with this might be able to help kind of start something in our Drow society to kind of get things back going the way that we wanted them to be before.
Mhm.
Or maybe not. And that's the cool thing is like just like any game, what I always encourage is every player, every DM, every table is different.
Right.
I was just talking with someone on the Kickstarter, one of the backers, and it's like they don't want to run an evil group at their table, and their players don't want to play evil characters. And that's fine. They can do that. They could totally do that in this adventure. But if someone wants to run all evil Drow characters, totally good as well. It's your table. It's up to you and your players, and that's part of the discussion of the session 0. And that's why I said session 0 should be like a full session.
Right. Right.
What talking with everyone and finding out what kind of game do you guys want to play, and then taking the adventure and then making it your own. But we're giving all of the different pieces, and we've got in the Kickstarter, we've got not we have not just the adventure, but we have all of these miniatures. We have 3 sets of miniatures. We have the Drow iconics. So no matter what type of Drow or what you choose, what house you choose, there's numerous Drow for each house, so that you can find a miniature that kind of matches what you want your character to be,
Mhm.
and you could print that out and then paint it however you'd like. There's also the coalition, which are like the quote unquote good guys that are in possession of the city, that are occupying the city. And so you have all of those guys, as well as a bunch of like different drones, like undead drones that they've outfitted with kind of like semi magitech gear that the Smurf Nebulism provided.
Right.
And then you've got all of the monsters, and the monsters could be like the mutated Driders, or different strange things that have spilled out from the demi-plane of Venom, like the Venom spawn. There's these Venom spawn that grow, and they start out really small, and they become more and more horrific as they grow. And at some point, the group will probably encounter some of these. I won't give out too many spoilers, but we have miniatures for all of these things, and we have hack and slash minis, which does incredible work at sculpting all of these miniatures for us, and have been for some years now. And I have some of them even here in front of me. Like, excuse the paint jobs, because I'm not a miniature painter, but like, here's
Those
some
look
of the
great. Yeah.
Drow minis, that we have coming along. And here's an example of one of the other houses. And what's cool is, for each of these, we've got kind of a larger size like this. So if you want to have
Hmm.
something for your table, just for like at your desk or something, and
Yeah.
then your smaller standard size for actual like combat on the table. And then we produced busts for each one as well. So if you want to have
Oh,
like a
wow.
really neat display piece like that, you can do that as well. And so um here's one of the ones that's printed, but with nothing on it. And then
Mhm.
here's one where it's just been dry brush right there. But
Oh,
um
nice.
obviously, the Kickstarter backers don't have access to all of these yet. But one of the first things we're going to release, just like a month and a half after the Kickstarter comes out, is all of the Drow iconics are going to come out. And if someone signs up before, like, I think you've got like 12 hours more, you get this guy for free.
Oh,
So you
wow.
get this in all 3 different sizes too. And all you have to do is back it, and you can back it for $1, and you'll get that. And you can even back for $1 and then leave later. Whatever. Just come say hi and come say we saw this, and you appreciate seeing some Drow. That's
Right.
all we ask.
That's awesome. So with this Kickstarter, then at the base level, it sounds like there's the book that can come in PDF form, in the physical form, and then these miniatures that you're showing, that looks fantastic. Are there like any other like stretch goals, or any other like add-ons or extras that
Oh,
people can
man.
sign up for?
Yeah, we have so many stretch goals unlocked already. It's actually kind of insane. Like, the first day pretty much blew us away. We did not expect the kind of response, just because the way the economy has been, and the way just after WotC screwed up the OGL thing and everything, it's been hard for third party publishers. And we thought, we'll see how it goes. We know we have got a lot of Drow fans, but man, it blew up yesterday. And so we were unlocking stretch goals so fast, I could not unlock them and upload the graphics. Like, we're running to upload things and trying to
Wow.
update them fast. I was like, oh no, 3 more have unlocked. Okay. So there's so much stuff unlocked now. If you go through the stretch goals, you'll find that there's a lot of content, and these books are probably going to be expanded in page count. And we're going to create a bunch of digital supplements as well for additional bonus content,
Mhm.
because I can already tell, like, we're going to reach the point where all those stretch goals are gone, and we're going to have some additional stuff. So there's a lot coming. And we have backer goals, which every 200 backers, we unlock 3 more miniatures, one from each tier. So one of the Drow, one of the Coalition, and one of the monsters. And so we've already unlocked, I think, 4. Yeah, we have 4 of each set. So, or 4 from each set. So that's 12 miniatures unlocked. And as the Kickstarter goes on, there's a potential of unlocking 12 per set.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, if we reach 2,000 backers, we had this massive, rad stretch goal for this mega miniature. And I can't reveal anything, which I hate, because my buddy that I work with in Germany, and my friend in England will probably have my head, but like, we have a really cool, awesome spoiler miniature. There's like the miniature that you want to have. Like, just trust me. Like, if you're a miniature enthusiast, it's a miniature, but it's much bigger than a miniature. It's like harkening back in the day when you'd see like rad action figures on TV in between the commercials with like Darkwing Duck, and you're like, I want that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
must have that. Like, I wonder if grandma and grandpa can afford it and buy it for me for Christmas. It's like, it's that, it's
Yeah.
that film. Like, that's what we're excited. I'm really excited. If we can reach 2,000 backers, we get to share that. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
good luck with all that. This sounds, so fantastic, and it just launched earlier this week. How long will this go until?
Yeah, it's going until I believe it's June 18th. I think it's a Wednesday.
Okay,
So that'll be the final day and it ends around 6 p.m. PST. So
gotcha.
if you're on the East Coast, you got a little bit of, you have a little bit of time to get in there late. But definitely get in there on this Kickstarter because if you look on there, like the value of what you get now versus how much it'll cost later is ridiculous. Like
Sure, yeah.
you can save like $150 on like some of the bigger tiers. You can save like 150, $200 if you pledge now versus buying it at MSRP later. So,
Right.
and not only that, but like we're right now working with distributors all over the world. So we're printing in like two or three different locations where because it's so complicated these days. We're shipping from the EU, we're shipping from the UK, we're shipping from Australia, New Zealand, we're shipping from the US, Canada. So like if you get it on the Kickstarter, the shipping handling is gonna be way cheaper than if you wait and then later buy it
Mhm.
online. It's going to cost you so much more, like maybe even two or three times, because things are nuts right now. So
Right.
highly recommend if you want it, get it in the Kickstarter, and I promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. Just look at any of our past Kickstarter. We have like 18 or 19 now, and you will see that we are obsessed. We're seriously obsessed. Like I spend all of day, every day, obsessed with AAW and producing the best books that we can because this is what we love. This is our passion. And we want to give you the best books to play at your table. So
That's awesome. And I'll make sure to put a link to the Kickstarter in the video description, and if this is, the website, it'll be on the website as well too. But Jonathan, thank you very much for coming on and telling us a little bit about Rise of the Drow after the fall. Are there any like social medias that you want people to know about if they want to follow AAW Games and this Kickstarter?
yeah, if you search for AEW games on pretty much any social media platform, we're on there. But the one I highly recommend is Discord because we have a really awesome community there. Everybody supports each other. There's no drama, there's no politics, there's none of that. It's all about the game, and we're there to play games and to share stuff about games. And lots of freebies get given out there and lots of great advice. So awgames.com/discord is where I recommend popping in. And we have actually a game that we're about to start called Echoes of the Fall, and it is a game where you get to choose Drow, Coalition, or Monsters and play an actual game that's going to take place every day. There'll be different events going on, and you get to be a part of that and like roll some dice online. It's kind of like a main. You should picture playing like a mini 10-minute D&D game like once a day, where you get to hop on and play and be a part of something,
Yeah.
and actually affect what maybe is happening in some of the books and whatnot. Like we're doing that, so check it out because that's launching within the next like 24 to 48 hours. We'll have that game start, so check it out.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again, Jonathan. I really appreciate you coming on, and best of luck to the Kickstarter for Rise of the Drow after the fall. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Long live Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.